Welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. Each show will be filled with news, interviews, technology, and reviews all about you, the writer. And now here's our host, H.D. Campbell. Hi, welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. As always, I'm your host, H.D. Campbell. I want to start the show by thanking you for your comments and constant support of the show. I also want to thank all of the authors who have contacted me and wish to be interviewed for the show. Now, for a couple of announcements. Since we last spoke, the sequel to my spy novel, The Sergeant Wise Guy Chronicles, will soon be released upon my cover approval. I've also added a new segment called A Look Backward. That's a segment where I interview past guests and catch up with them and look at what they're doing now. Today's Looking Backward guest is Jeane E. Bennett, author of Intimate Moments. We will be talking to her about her new project and what's in the future for her alter ego, Jeane Sashi. Finally, I need to announce that due to technical difficulties, I won't be able to present to you the interview with Carmen Jones on this show, but I will be offering that here real soon as a show extra on my show page. When we return, we'll kick it off with author Terri D. Need a manuscript edited? Or maybe you need a press kit. H.D. Campbell Productions can give your project detailed attention and will not be satisfied until you are. We also do press releases, resumes, and more. For prices and services, log on to my online store at www.hdcampbell3.net. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Have you checked out the Author's Corner lately? It's the best show you're not watching. It's filled with news, interviews, reviews, and other surprises. Check me out twice a month with the latest in the literary world. Check me out on my website, www.hdcampbell3.net, or my YouTube channel at hdcampbell1230. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Welcome back. My first guest is a wonderful talent I had the pleasure of interviewing back in January. Her name is Author Terri D, the author of Yesterday's Lies, and we had a great conversation about her book and the state of romance in all of our lives. Plus, she has a new book coming soon. Here she is.
I started writing as a young teen, short stories. I actually journaled. I have journaled since I can remember. I think the earliest journals I have are probably from me being around 10 or 11. But I've always loved to write. Like I said, mostly short stories. I did dabble in poetry a little bit. But then when I got into my teens, I kind of shifted and got into music. I'm a singer. I played piano, so I kind of went more in that direction, still continued to journal. But I guess I found my writing voice again probably about 10 years ago when I was going through my divorce. I used it as a form of therapy.
Okay. So before I go into any more questions, did any of that, because I also read in your bio that a lot of things changed, you like the divorce and everything. Did that influence your writing any?
I don't think so. I think actually some of the relationships since the divorce have probably influenced my writing a little bit more than that.
Okay. Well, do you still have some of the journals that you had of previous years?
Oh, yes, I do. I have all of my journals.
Right. So that means we're going to see. Well, I'm not going to ask you that yet. I'll ask you that a little later.
Okay.
How about, as I also read in your bio, you moved around a lot, went to different boarding schools as a child. So none of that influenced your writing either?
Not yet. I have an idea, and I've actually kind of started a project around my boarding school experience because it is one that I want to share. The boarding school I went to in Virginia, when I went there, I used to live in Washington, D.C., and I left D.C. to go to this boarding school in Virginia. And I was one of 3 African-American girls at the school. And that entire experience was very, very different. It was initially traumatic, but in the end, I was there for 4 years, 9th through 12th grade. It ended up being one of the best experiences of my life. So I do plan to write about that.
Okay. Cool. Well, my next question I'm going to ask you this, as I asked all of my very busy female authors that I've ever interviewed.
Okay.
You're an author. You work full time. You sing in your church every now and then, and you're a mother of three. How do you keep it all together?
You know, a lot of people ask me that. When my book came out last year, I've worked at the same company for over 20 years, and a lot of my co-workers were very surprised because I have a very demanding job. I work at least 40 hours a week. I travel a lot with my job, and they just couldn't believe I had time to write this book. And what I can tell you is it's not easy, but again, for me, writing is therapy. It's like when I come home after a very long, stressful day at work, I write. I sometimes read out. I'm a big reader too. I've already read like 6 books, and it's only the 9th or 10th of January this year. So I'm a big reader, but I write a lot, and that writing is just really how I can kind of get, the stress of the day or just things out of my system.
Okay.
So it's really therapeutic.
Okay.
So I definitely make sure I take time for that.
Okay. What do you like to read?
Oh man, I read anything. I mean, not anything. I like to read stories that I can relate to. So I've been reading, actually, let me back up for a minute. I started reading as a very young child. My mother used to read V.C. Andrews and Danielle Steele and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I started. But then in my adult life, I really got into African-American authors. And, my all-time favorite, I have to say, was Elon Harris. I just loved his writing style. But I can read just about anything. Since I've become an author, I'm meeting other authors. I've traveled a lot and actually have met a lot of authors in person at some of the different events and venues I've been to. And I've kind of reached out and I'm reading a bunch of different things. So really, anything. I don't have a particular style. It just kind of depends on my mood. But I try to read a variety of authors just to kind of keep myself aware of what's out there. And I like seeing the different writing styles as well.
Okay. Well, but before I go any further, I keep forgetting to warn my authors that I interview that this isn't just a simple Q&A. This is more like a conversation, though. Don't feel you have to limit yourself when you're answering questions.
Okay.
Because my viewers want to know everything there is to know about you, to buy your book, to get to know you, so forth and so forth.
Okay.
Now, give me a brief synopsis of your book, Yesterday's Lies. I like that title, by the way.
Yesterday's Lies is about a group of friends. The book is centered around 2 female characters and 2 male characters. And the premise behind the book is these 4 characters, they grew up together. The female characters met in junior high, and then the male characters enter into their lives in high school. But they go through high school together. They actually are couples. They go to college together, and there's this tragic event that happens in their senior year of college. And the story is set 7 years after the event. But through the story and actually one of the characters' journals, like me, her name is Tony, some of the story that happened, in the past is told through her journal entries and through her remembering things. But this tragic event that happens, they're friends, so they're trying to protect each other. They don't all have the whole truth about what happened. One of the characters, he disappears for 7 years. We don't know where he went. And I don't want to tell you, I know where he went. I wrote the book. I don't want to tell you. He disappears. And part of the drama part of the book is him returning and some of the secrets and lies that were told to cover up what really happened start to come out. The love part of it is the fact that character that left for 7 years, he just left. He and his girlfriend were in this committed relationship. They had plans to, graduate from college and marry. And then one day he just disappeared, and she didn't know where he was. And it's really about her struggle through that process of waiting for him, grieving him, and then him coming back into her life again.
Okay, now you have to tell me where the idea for that book came from or what influenced it.
question. Where the idea? When I sat down and started writing it, I didn't have all of that. When I write, I literally just kind of sit down and start writing. And sometimes, I go to the left and sometimes I go to the right.
Well,
but really, the whole premise behind the lover that committed relationship and then that lover that kind of went away and came back, maybe it's the wishful thinking in me. Maybe I have this person from my past that I'm wishing will come back into my life. I'm saying maybe, right? You hear me saying that?
mm-hmm.
And I really think that, and I think I mentioned this on my website, some of my close friends and family who read the book, they immediately try to say I'm Tony in the book, and I'm not Tony, but maybe parts of me. And I think each of the characters in the book has a little bit of me, and what the characters experience and what they do, I think I could describe it as things. It would be how I would like for things to out maybe in my fantasy world.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, I have 3 book series, and I get accused of being every major character in each of those book series, so I understand.
But you know what though? I think, if you weren't a good writer, I don't think you would get that comment. I think the reason people say that is because they can identify with the characters, and if you really, put yourself into the book you're writing, then you're going to get that type of feedback.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, as far as the writing goes, this may not make sense, but then again, it makes sense as a writer. I really don't know. Again, like you, I don't know what to write until I sit down and write it. I have the idea for the story, but it can take whatever. I can plot twist a story to death, basically.
Yeah.
So which is basically how you do. So believe me, that's not lost on just you. It's lost on a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
So how long did it take you to write the book, Miss Busy?
I've actually finished yesterday's live in about 2 months. And let me explain. I actually was off work. I had a little medical issue, and I was off work for a little bit, so I was able to get the bulk of the story down, because I was off, and I could literally work on it day and night. Once I went back to work, it took a little longer to get the book finished, but I would say definitely about 2 months.
Okay. Who are your writing influences, or who are your favorite authors?
Well, I mentioned loved Elon Harris, all of his books for years. I would have to say I think I was influenced a little bit by B.C. Andrews. I don't even know if you know that author or not. But
I'm familiar.
I'm sorry?
I'm familiar.
Okay. One of the things I loved about her books growing up was how you grew up with the characters. Like she would have these series, and each book, the characters grew, and I liked that aspect. So I don't know that I'm going to do that with my writing. I wrote Yesterday's Lives, and the sequel to Yesterday's Lives, which is called Today's Truth, will be out later this spring.
All right.
But I don't know that I'm going to take it beyond that. I don't know that I'll write these long, series like B.C. Andrews did. But I think I was influenced by how her characters, she carried them, and you kind of grew up with them. So I'm really kind of struggling with how far I want to take these characters before I end the series.
Okay. Well, do you have any tours or appearances or book signings coming up?
I do. What do I have? I have a book club that I'm going to be going to in March. I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be going to a book club meeting down in Maryland. I can't think of the name of the book club right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
And I have some other just local signings that I have set up. My touring will be more active once we have better weather. Being in Pennsylvania, I'm a little leery of having some things set up. So I have some things set up for like later spring, early summer. Last summer in 2011, from May through August, I was somewhere every weekend. It was very busy, but I was all over the country.
Okay. Before I conclude my questions, since this is the theme of Black Love Month, I wanted your opinion as a romance author, to give me your opinion of the state of black romance right now
Oh, in real life or in books?
in real life.
um, Actually, I'm a little disappointed with the state of black love right now. I think that um, we've lost some of the basics, and what I mean by that is, I actually was talking to somebody about this the other day. This is just my opinion, Terri D, and I'm not saying I don't believe in love, because I do. I am a
Oh no,
hopeless
oh, no,
romantic.
no, no, no. Yeah, I'm
But
just
I
looking
think
for your
that
opinion. So no, you're fine. Just you're fine.
I think that because of modern technology, just follow me for a minute. Our cell phone contracts end after a year and a half. Your lease on your car ends after whatever. I think it's we've become so used to recycling things and just getting something new that we don't stick it out in our relationships. As soon as we hit a road bump or a speed bump, it's too easy for us to say, you know what, I'm done, and move on. We're not, in it for the long haul. We're not willing to put in what it takes to make the relationship work, and it is work. So I think that, again, I'm not saying it's not there. Every time I come across a couple, and I see that they've endured, or they really, you can tell they're in love and they've been together for a while. I like that. I love to see that, and it gives me hope. But generally speaking, I think that it's really we're in a sad state right now.
Okay. How do you think we can fix that?
I think we can. Did you say how or do? I think it can be fixed.
Okay. Okay. Well, well, back to your books. Thank you very much for that, by the way, because, like I say, this is the theme for the month, and I'm going to ask all of my authors the same questions. Now, my next question is for your fans. How can your fans contact you, and where can they go to buy your books?
My fans can contact me. I'm on Facebook under Author Terri D. That's my fan page. Or my email, excuse me, is Author Terri D. And Terri is Terri. So it's Author Terri D @gmail.com. I love to hear from fans, all kinds of feedback. I mean, I've heard some things, mostly positive, but some of my fans have contacted me and they didn't like certain things in the book, but I like to hear it all. My website is www.authorterrid.com. And as far as where to purchase my books, you can get them online at all the major, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. It's also on smashwords.com. And you can also get my book from Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble picked it up about a month ago. So you should be able to go into a Barnes & Noble and get it. If not, they should be able to order it for you and have it within a day or two. And it's in some local, some indie bookstores around the country. Like I said, I spend a lot of time touring, and I do have it in some bookstores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Atlanta, and I think I have it in one in California.
Okay.
Oh, in New York.
Okay. And finally, for all the new writers out there who's trying to get where you are now, do you have any words of wisdom to share?
I do. One of the things I can tell you that if I could do it over again, I would have researched the industry a lot more. I would have taken more time to work with, professional editors before I released the book. I will tell you that I originally released the book March 30th of 2011 and got some feedback, positive feedback on the story, but there were editing issues in my book when it was first released. So if anyone goes to Amazon, you'll see some 3-star reviews that say just that. Great story, but editing issues. I have since had the book re-edited, so you should not see those issues in any recent copies or recent purchases, of the book. So one of the things I will tell authors, especially self-published authors, to make sure you are dealing with a professional editor who knows what they're doing, or you will put out a less than quality product and you'll hear about it.
That was an amazing and informative interview from Miss Terri D. Find out more and her books on my website, www.hcampbell3.net, or on her website at authorterryd.com. Next, we'll have Felecia Killings. This Author's Corner is sure to be a legendary one. I am honored to have best-selling authors Victoria Christopher Murray and Rashonda Tate Billingsley. We'll talk about their latest book, their latest tour, and Rashonda's recent NAACP Awards win. Then we'll talk to author filmmaker Betty Stephen about her latest projects and upcoming films. It's sure to be a big show March 23rd. See you there, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Check out who I got next on the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. And again, another show filled with great guests, great surprises, all jam-packed. See you April 6th, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Welcome back. It's a known fact that the public school system in a lot of areas of our country need reforming. My next guest knows this all too well. Not only is she a dedicated teacher in the system, her book, Fear, Faith, and Patience, talks about such issues from a first-hand account. Her name is Felecia Killings, and here is the interview.
Fear, Faith, and Patience is my story of being an educator for the past 5 years within the public school system. I worked in the Fairfield Sassoon School District here in California, and the first book just talks about my struggles and challenges as well as my success as an educator, and just trying to promote change and transformation in that area because it is most needed.
Well, before I get into the other parts about the book, well, one thing, I'm very strong about our public education system. How do you feel about the state of it right now?
It's in a downward spiral, I'll have to say, because when, at least for myself, I was a young educator, I became a full-time teacher at the age of 22, and when I attended the credential program, I had these naive ideas that people within the public school system, particularly the leaders, wanted change, and that they desired to have really strong, good, educated, especially minority teachers. However, when I started working, especially in the Fairfield district, I quickly learned that the status quo, the low expectations, low standards was actually the norm, and that to try and combat against it would make one a target. And so that's unfortunately something that not many people discuss, especially in media or in the public. We're told that the public school is striving to do better when actually it can do better if we just get some people out of it and change certain policies and whatnot. And so as far as my perception of it, it's going to continue to go downhill because you have individuals who want some people to fail, unfortunately. But that's the reality of it. And my opinion, the best bet is get the best teachers that you possibly can and start schools on your own that will promote and enhance a stronger education, equal education for today's youth. Because to be honest, the failure rate and whatnot is not even necessary. Students don't have to fail. But if you constantly accept that failure as the norm, then that's what they'll get. And so that's my perception on it. I don't see it progressing simply because there are people who want certain individuals to continue to fail. So that's my perception on it.
Okay. And how does your book fall into play on that?
my book just talks about how educators who are in the system, who have a desire to seek change, who want to raise the bar of excellence, I try to show them how I and particularly the group of students that I worked with during my time, how we went about trying to effect change within the school system. And with God's help, we were able to accomplish quite a bit, but at the same time, we were met with such hostility, such animosity, that it nearly killed us, killed our spirit, if you will. But we had to just continue to trust God to help us in that area. So my book, Fierce Patience, really gives the reader an insight glimpse into what happens within the public school system, so that the public can know and become empowered. I mean, in my opinion, knowledge is power. The more that people know about what's actually happening and what goes on behind the scenes, then the more they'll be able to become a participant in that kind of change.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, when is your release date for this book?
Our release date is March 12th, so in a couple of weeks it will be available on Amazon.com, by Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. But readers can pre-order the book from our website, fiercepatience.weebly.com, and they can pre-order it up until the 12th at a small discount. But yeah, it'll be available on the 12th.
Okay. Are you a writer by trade or definition?
I have been writing for a long time because I received quite a bit of degrees already, and so I just already had that skill in me. But this is my first published book. But I've been writing for, like I said, quite a while. But this was the book that I wanted to come out with first, just to try and introduce myself to the public. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, how old were you when you first started writing?
Well, I was very young, a teenager, writing short stories. I would often win contests, in my classes, and I just tried to carry that on even into my college years, but nothing that I felt worthy of, being published. And, it wasn't until I became a teacher and witnessed a lot of things that I decided to go ahead and put out a work that would minister to the public.
Okay. Well, I'm about to put your mom on the spot, so tell her she can come after me if she wants to. but but I know she will. No, she probably won't. But no. Well, see, in our interview, basically we talked about. Well, in our interview, we basically talked about her journey as far as getting her book out. But how has she influenced your journey?
My mother and I, we really connected as far as the writing business goes over the last year. So for the 2011 year, we really decided to come together and to, work in this publishing business. And so her influence on me is great because, she already went through the whole process of learning about self-publishing and traditional publishing. And when I first told her about my experience within my school district, she was just in awe of what I had encountered. And, I told her, I said, I'm not the only teacher who goes through what I went through. But we don't hear about it because it's oftentimes too difficult to discuss. And so I told her, I said, I really want to put out a book. I really want to write a book that would open the door for the discussions that I present in the text. And so she helped me from the moment I said I wanted to write a book. She was just ready to be there for me. And so after constructing it and editing it, she really took the helm and became our marketing specialist and publicist. And she's so knowledgeable when it comes to just the self-publishing part. And she actually influenced me to just go that route as opposed to traditional publishing, because she showed me that, I can have all the power of the work and just the control to make, just to make sure that it gets into the right hands, and I just feel really comfortable about the story that I'm putting out there. So she was a big influence. She has connected me with so many people. It's amazing. She keeps me on my toes as far as getting that book promoted and marketed well. So, yeah, she's a big influence.
Okay. I want to go on record to all my viewers that the mom we're talking about is Mrs. Paulette Harper Johnson. I repeat, Mrs. Paulette Harper Johnson. So as you see this interview, don't come after me. I'm just putting you on the spot for a second. All right. All right. Next question. Switching gears for a second. What imprint are you writing under, or are you under your own?
I'm under my own. It's called Faith Love Publishing.
Okay. And how long is it? And is this your first imprint? Has it been? I mean, how long has it? How long has your imprint been in existence?
It's been in existence since January 2012. I just got a license, and so yeah, this book is the first book under that company.
Okay. Now, who are some of your other writing influences?
Oh, gosh, I don't really have other writing influences. I do enjoy reading a lot of the stories from Toni Morrison. She's my favorite author in the world. Sorry, hold on.
Okay.
Phone is dying, but anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't really have someone that I reference as far as being my inspiration as far as writing goes.
Okay. Also, now, do you have any events or appearances or anything special coming up?
At the end of March, I will have a book signing at a store in, I forget the name, Sabante, something like that. I have to look at my calendar again. But for now, I'm just really focusing on, these interviews done. And my mother, she will be influential as far as establishing some different venues for me to go to as far as speaking engagements. But for right now, I don't have anything lined up specifically.
Okay. Now, you've already said this in the beginning, but just in case people, just in case people are forgotten, how can people get to know Mrs. Felecia Killings?
People can visit my website, fearfaithpatience.com, .weebly.com. Individuals can also go to my ministry website, which is called Power Faith Love Ministries.weebly.com, and I really talk about some of the different visions and organizations that God has given me over the past year, and just something that I will be developing over the next 7 years. People can also visit me at my business website, pslpublishing.weebly.com, and that's my editing and self-publishing company. You can also find me on Facebook, Felecia Killings, and that's how people can find out.
Okay. Now, I know this is sort of early because I know your first book isn't out yet, but have you thought about any other titles or anything that might be in the works?
Yeah, I actually have 2 more books that will come out this year. And both books are kind of the conclusion, if you will, to this first book, Your Faith Patience. It's really my journey throughout my 5 years as an educator, and then just the different lessons that I learned and what God had taught me as far as trusting Him when encountering such a difficult battle as I encountered. So those 2 books, the next 2 books, are scheduled to be released in July, again under the same company name. And I'm working hard to get those done, but I really believe that all 3 books, which will be out for 2012, I believe it's going to minister to just the right people and hopefully encourage others to trust God as they become active in social affairs.
Okay, cool. And finally, do you have any final inspirational word for any new upcoming writers or anyone who wants to write a book?
Yeah, just trust God. Trust that the story that you have is it's influential. It's important. It can minister just to the right people, and then just go with it. Trust that God will, help you along the journey. Also to remember that writing a book is like a business, and you have to treat it like it. And it's good to surround yourself with people who will help push the vision of that business forward.
Another powerful interview. Now, when we return, our first look backward guest will be Jeane E. This author's corner is sure to be a legendary one. I am honored to have best-selling authors Victoria Christopher Murray and Rashonda Tate Billingsley. We'll talk about their latest book, their latest tour, and Rashonda's recent NAACP Awards win. Then we'll talk to author filmmaker Betty Stephen about her latest projects and upcoming films. It's sure to be a big show March 23rd. See you there, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Have you checked out the Author's Corner lately? It's the best show you're not watching. It's filled with news, interviews, reviews, and other surprises. Check me out twice a month with the latest in the literary world. Check me out on my website, www.htcampbell3.net, or my YouTube channel at hdcampbell1230. And as always, let your writing fuel. Welcome back to the Author's Corner. My first look backwards segment is with a woman whom I've had a good time talking to every time we interview. It wasn't that long I interviewed her about her book, Intimate Moments. Now she's back with a new book and other things going on. Her name is Jeane E. Bennett, Jeane Sashi to her readers. Here's the interview.
Oh, good Lord. The first of the year has hit the ground and running with work, book, oh, good Lord, volunteer stuff. I've been busy.
Oh my God. So ever since Intimate Moments, you've just been doing a lot of stuff with the book and beyond.
Exactly.
So on the subject of the book, how's the book been doing?
The first one, Intimate Moments, is doing good.
Okay.
That one's doing really, really well. The J-Spot was just released, about a week ago? Mm-hmm. And so far, that one's doing really well.
All right, and we'll get into. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. No. I'm gonna say we'll get into that. We'll get into that here in a minute. Also, last time I've talked to you about your other titles, your nonfiction titles, rebuilding your credit, rebuilding you, cleaning up your credit yourself, and considering a home-based business. How's that been doing?
Oh, those, I hadn't really tracked those until recently and didn't realize they're doing well on their own.
Oh, right.
When the promotion of them, they're doing very well.
Okay.
Because they're in ebook form, so I guess it's there for people, but they have been doing very well to where I can update both of the books because they're now about 2 years old, both of them. So they do need to be updated.
Okay. Well, back to your fiction. I want you to tell me, was it the J-Spot it is? Well, tell me all about the J-Spot. Where is it? How is it? What's going on with it?
Okay. No, it's not me and it's not my spot. Again, okay. The J-Spot is pure imagination again, just like Intimate Moments. That's based in New Orleans, and it is a nightclub tapas bar type of thing. And it's a romance. It's an erotic romance. It's not as erotic sauce, should I say, as Intimate Moments was. It's a little bit more tamed down a little bit, but this one is on a scale of a male, and it was kind of difficult to write like I'm a man. and think like him. But I, went to some men and asked some questions, so that helped me out a little bit. But I wrote like a man, and I wanted to portray him as he does have a heart. He does care. And men do. Not all men are dogs, as some women think, type of thing. So I portrayed him as he's looking for love too. He just wants this one woman in his life. And that's how that all comes together. He focuses on and zeroes in on this one woman, and he's got to have her. And that's what that one is.
Oh, nice. I have nothing. Oh, that's a pretty good plot too. So when was the book released?
It's a spinoff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is a spinoff from Intimate Moments. They spin each other off because you're going to find characters from Intimate Moments into the J Spot.
Okay. Can you show us a copy of the book if you have one?
Oh, the J Spot is right there.
Cool.
Intimate Moments is right there.
All right.
That's out there.
All right. Also, too, when was the J Spot? When was the J Spot released?
It was released. I believe it was February the 16th. I believe.
Oh, 2 days after Valentine's Day. How convenient.
Yeah, somewhere.
How very convenient of you.
I was pushing for the Valentine's Day, but it was okay.
Do you have any events or signings or anything coming up thus far? We're planning on any events that you might be attending? No.
As of that, me personally, I'm not ready to do signings because my schedule is busy right now and going on. So I'm not ready. And plus, I want to have the third book finished and completed, which is sort of into this Intimate Moments J Spot series. So I want to have it completed and released.
Now tell everybody where they can learn more about you.
About me personally. You can learn about me from JaneeEBennett.com.
All right. And what all can I find on JaneeEBennett.com?
You can find, not only will you find my books, in which I will say that my website needs to be updated. You not only can find the books, but you can find the radio station, At Home Biz, where I also find my coaching business as well. Information about the other how can I put that? The non-fiction ones that I have written, Rebuilding You and Considering the Home-Based Business. You can find all that information all on one website instead of having two websites.
All right. Last time I spoke to you about new writers and artists trying to start writing, how to get into writing. Now, now I want to modify that question and ask, what can new authors do to stay in the business of writing?
I say stay motivated. It's easy to get out your motivation. It's easy to get sidetracked, especially if you have other things going on within your life, such, like I said, I do. I have other things going on just besides the writing, but stay motivated. If this is what you want to do, this is what you enjoy doing, it's a passion that you have, stay true to it. Do it. Just jump in it. If you can only spend, say, an hour writing a day, spend that hour writing a day. I know some try to follow, the leads of other people. I say try to follow your own lead and be your own leader. And do what works for you. Do what's best for you. Did we get lost again?
No. You were just fine.
Okay.
You were just fine.
Okay. So I just say do what's best for you, what's comfortable for you, and we'll.
Okay. You there?
I'm here.
All right. And finally, any words of wisdom? I can talk to you for about 2 hours, but
I know.
But no, any final word on anything you want to say, or?
Well, like I said, if you're a writer, you also have to be a reader in order to keep your mind sharp. Whichever genre you write in, read the books in that genre. Pay attention to words. Use your dictionary. Use your thesauruses. You may not have one, to carry around with you, but you can put them on your phone. You can put them on your computer. Use those things. Those tools are very helpful. So being a writer is also being a reader.
That was a great interview. Stay tuned in April when I'll be interviewing my very first Spotlight author on my very first show back in 2008, Keisha Green. She's been more than busy since we last spoke. We'll catch up with her more in April. Now, when we return, one more announcement and a final thought. Check out who I got next on the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. And again, another show filled with great guests, great surprises, all jam-packed. See you April 6th, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Need a manuscript edited? Or maybe you need a press kit. H.D. Campbell Productions can give your project detailed attention and will not be satisfied until you are. We also do press releases, resumes, and more. For prices and services, log on to my online store at www.hdcampbell3.net. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit. Welcome back. The first thing I want to announce is that my next show will be a huge one. We'll be interviewing best-selling author Victoria Christopher Murray about her career. Then we'll talk to best-selling author and NAACP award winner Rashonda Tate Billingsley. Finally, we'll talk to author Betty Stevens with special guest filmmaker David McFly Mills. We'll talk about her book, which is soon to become a major film. And now, my final thought. I get a lot of people who talk to me about scheduling and making time to write. One thing I'm getting are people who claim they have no time because they're going to and from. Author Terri McMillan wrote on the train on her way to work. For those who have known me since high school, I've always had a notebook in my hand. I wrote between classes, I wrote in the morning, in the evening, whenever. I found a way to write in some of the worst conditions. I said all this to say you can always find the time. Someone once told me the conditions weren't right. She was an older lady and had high school age children. And she told me when her husband retires and all her children are gone and whatever, The only problem is, how do you know the right time will be then? So to avoid this being a college lecture, because I'm trying to end the show here, let me say this. If you have the itch to write, you better scratch it, because if you're waiting for time to be perfect, put words to paper, it's never going to be right. Well, this has been the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. See you in 2 weeks, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit and guide.